Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about CEOs. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, what would you say to a CEO of a company who belittles your work? Well, I'm not sure exactly what phrasing I would use, so it depends on sort of how they would go about it, but usually it would be some flavor of I'm sorry that you feel that way. And then I would ask myself the thing that I always ask myself, and that is, am I okay with this? That's usually what I go with. I mean, it's not the first time I've had to deal with a manager or someone who is either this or that or so forth and so forth. It's really down to, at least for me, if the overall work situation that I find myself in is good or bad or so forth. Because usually, if this sort of thing happens, it's more a question of like what's the nature of the criticism. It doesn't have to be a CEO, it can be anybody basically. If you're getting criticism from someone who is a CEO, it's most likely because that person doesn't know either because you're not performing so well or so forth, or it is because the person doesn't know so well what's going on and so forth. And I've had many situations like that, guys, like where for example, you have issues with quality. You have, which are the most common ones that you get criticism for as a department or as a, like, it depends on what level, but almost always, guys, which is why I tell you the things that I tell you. The number one reason you usually get this criticism is because you're slow, or because the system is unstable and you have a lot of outages and issues and so forth in the system itself. And it's why I tell people that it does not matter how fast you are if it doesn't work. It's that simple, and the goal should always be to move at the highest speed possible without compromising with that like binary question: does it work? Yes or no? Can you guarantee that it works? Do you have, and usually, as I said, this is the struggle, right? So if you're dealing with a CEO who belittles your work for these sorts of reasons, it's usually because they're frustrated with this exact topic. And I've seen, guys, it's not like this is daily stuff where people might not be so verbose about it and so forth, but it's the number one most common problem in IT development, that the system is unstable, especially in organizations who aren't really all that good at IT. And so for me, it doesn't really matter so much if a CEO says that they're unhappy with it, because I understand that they're unhappy with it, because the reality is that software development is so difficult. Even at the team level, it's so difficult to fix this problem. At a company level, it's bordering on impossible for most organizations to fix this. And this is the thing that I specialize in. And this is the thing that I usually try to tell people. Like, I'm not that, like, guys, I'm at a level where I can fix a team's problem with stability and all of this sort of stuff, because I've been around enough now to know what things are going to make the difference and what things you need to do. And I train enough people from the level of junior all the way up to senior level, so-called master level programmers who can't get this right. They're really good at the coding, but it's not just about code, guys, to get a stable system. And I can tell you for a fact that the vast majority of high executives and so forth, they have no clue how to solve this problem. They hire people who also don't really have a clue how to solve this problem, because most people who are leaders within IT are actually really shit at it. Like, they usually are all talk. Most of them, they're all talk. They have no way whatsoever to figure out how to solve this problem, because the strategy in IT, when you don't really know what you're doing, is to hire somebody else to fix it for you. But the problem is that you are ignorant as well, usually, so you hire people who you just hope know what they're doing. Which, incidentally, is the internal problem, right? How do you get someone who's good? It doesn't matter if it's IT or anywhere else. So for me, it's really a question of that. Am I happy, or yes or no? And I mean, being belittled at a personal level, that's happened as well, and been subjected to things that isn't all that pleasant and so forth. But to me, as I said, guys, it's really a question of am I fine with this, yes or no? Because I've never been in those sort of extreme situations where, you've heard how people really go out of their way to make you feel bad and so forth. I have been in tough situations for sure, and I have been exposed to things that I would go as far as to say that it borders on abuse, but nothing that I haven't been able to deal with. And to me, as I said, it's really down to that. Am I happy with all the other coworkers? Am I happy with, because I know that I'm not going to love everybody. I've been in tons of companies where I have had coworkers who I really couldn't deal with all that well. I couldn't stand them. But I've made videos about that as well, guys, about how to deal, at least how I usually deal with these sorts of situations. And then I would just focus on doing a good job, because at the end of the day, I'm getting paid. And if I'm unhappy, I can always go somewhere else. It's not really that complicated. You can, of course, speak your mind to people like this and stand your ground, but it's a personal choice, guys, because as I've said before, most people who have this attitude, who are who go out of the who do these sorts of things and become rude and so forth, are very rarely going to. It's very rarely going to matter if you push back. You can push back for your own personal gratification, but it's not like they're going to have usually at the very least have an epiphany and realize that, oh shit, I'm actually a really bad guy in this situation, because at least the mature people, unless your CEO is a 20 something, or maybe early 30s something, usually a CEO won't behave in this manner, and if they do, it's very likely that they have issues that are, it's beyond anything you can do by just telling them off. But you can tell them off for your own and do the mic drop and walk out of there if you want to. It's really up to you at the personal level how you like to deal with your problems. So what I want you to take away from this is that if a CEO belittles my work, I really look at, am I overall happy with my situation? And usually you will find that department heads and so forth might do so at the company level, because in many cases you have problems with stability and you have issues that needs fixing. And the problem, as I've pointed out before in another video as well, is that everything is a network, which means that if you have a few systems that are unreliable, then the whole thing starts rotting. That's the tricky part about IT. You need a network of quality that basically works. You can't just have one system that's really good and a lot of systems that are really shitty, because the overall experience is evaluated as a whole. Like the whole thing is evaluated usually, unless you have multiple systems, of course, and so forth. But usually that is the case. And so having someone who is frustrated with you or so forth and so forth is very, very common. And in many cases, they're frustrated with you because of reasons that you might not even be able to control. As I said, I've been in, very recently, I'm in teams where literally anything I do, change and try to fix and try to improve in any meaningful way causes regressions or issues and so forth. And then people get upset that things are breaking. And I go, yeah, you built the house of fucking cards, and now you want me to turn it into a brick house. I'm not going to be able to do that without breaking some stuff, and you put yourself in this situation. So when someone does these sorts of things, I don't feel much, honestly, guys, because it's like being insulted by someone who's completely ignorant, or someone who lacks any knowledge or insight whatsoever into what you're doing. So if you're happy with the rest of your situation, just shrug it off and move on. There are people who will insult people for all kinds of reasons, whether they're in the right or in the wrong, and it doesn't really matter to them. And then, of course, if you really feel that this person is getting under your skin or so forth, well, I have videos about how to deal with that as well. And you have the old tried and true method, which is go and work somewhere else and wave them bye bye. Have a great day.